The scream tore through the night like a wounded animal. Chief Okoro burst through the carved wooden door of his daughter's chamber, his heart hammering against his ribs. The room was empty. Nkiru's bed lay untouched, the covers folded perfectly as if no one had ever slept there. The chief's hands trembled as he touched the cold sheets. "Nkiru," he shouted, his voice breaking. The 2 guards stationed outside rushed in, their spears ready. They looked around in confusion, their eyes wide with fear. "We never left our posts, my chief," the older guard stammered. "She never passed us. We swear on our lives." The chief's wife pushed past them, her wrapper barely tied around her waist. She fell to her knees beside the bed, weeping. The windows were locked from the inside. The door had been bolted. There was no way out. Then the chief noticed something strange. On the floor near the window, a trail of shimmering silver dust caught the moonlight. It sparkled like crushed stars, leading from the bed to the wall, and then, nothing. From somewhere deep in the forest, a cry echoed. Not human. Not animal. Something else entirely. By morning the entire village knew. Women gathered at the stream, their voices hushed but urgent. Men sat under the great irako tree, shaking their heads and muttering prayers. The chief's daughter had vanished without a trace. "I heard she's been sneaking out to meet a lover," one woman whispered, balancing her water pot on her head. "Don't be foolish," another snapped. "How does one sneak past guards and locked doors? This is dark magic." At the market, a traveling merchant from the eastern villages leaned forward, his voice low and serious. "I've seen dust like that before. Silver dust that glows in moonlight. It was in a shrine where spirits walk." The women gasped. One dropped her basket of yams. But the loudest whispers came from Adan, Nkiru's cousin. She moved through the crowds with fake concern painted on her face, but her eyes sparkled with something darker. "Poor Nkiru," Adan said sweetly. "Perhaps the spirits are punishing her for something. Who knows what secrets she keeps?" People nodded, suspicious now. Envy had always lived in Adan's heart, and now it had found a voice. Obi knelt in the small garden behind his master's hut, grinding herbs with steady hands. He was just an apprentice, nobody important. The son of a poor farmer who had died young. Most people in the village didn't even know his name. But Obi listened. He heard everything. When news of Nkiru's disappearance reached the herbalist's compound, Obi's master, Old Ikin, had gone very quiet. That silence told Obi more than words ever could. "Master," Obi said carefully, "the silver dust they speak of, is it what I think it is?" Old Ikin looked at him with tired eyes. "You remember my teachings well, boy." "Yes. That dust belongs to the realm between worlds. A place where humans should not walk." Obi's heart began to race. "Then she's in danger. More than you know." That afternoon, Obi walked to the chief's compound, keeping to the shadows. Others might have ignored him, but his eyes were sharp. And there, just beyond the outer fence, he found it. A thin trail of silver dust, barely visible in the daylight, leading toward the forest. His hands shook as he touched it. The dust was cold, impossibly cold. Obi stood before the chief's council, his voice steady despite the fear crawling up his spine. The elders sat in a semicircle, their faces hard and suspicious. Chief Okoro towered over them all, his jaw tight with anger and worry. "Speak, boy," the chief commanded. "And do not waste my time." Obi swallowed. "My chief, I believe I know what's happening to your daughter. The silver dust near her room, it's a sign of spiritual movement. Something is calling her." The chief's face twisted. "Spirits? You dare come here with village superstitions? My daughter is missing and you bring me tales? But my chief." "Enough." The chief's voice boomed. "I will not listen to the nonsense of a herbalist's boy. Leave before I have you whipped for wasting my time." Obi bowed low and backed away, his cheeks burning with shame. As he turned to leave, he caught a glimpse of Nkiru standing in the doorway. She looked pale, her eyes ringed with dark circles. For just a moment, her eyes flashed silver, like moonlight on water. Then she blinked and they were normal again. But Obi had seen it. And now he knew for certain something was terribly, terribly wrong. That night, Nkiru disappeared again. This time, her mother had been sitting in the hallway just outside her room, refusing to sleep. She heard nothing, saw nothing. But when dawn broke and she opened the door, Nkiru was gone. They found her at sunrise, collapsed near the village well. Her wrapper was torn, her feet bleeding and bare. She could barely stand. 2 young girls fetching water screamed when they saw her, thinking she was a ghost. The chief carried his daughter home himself, his face gray with fear. Nkiru's lips were cracked and dry and she trembled uncontrollably. But the strangest thing was her hands. They shimmered faintly with that same silver dust, as if she had been dipped in moonlight. "Where did you go?" her mother sobbed, holding her tight. "Tell us, my child. Tell us what's happening to you." But Nkiru just stared ahead, her eyes empty and distant. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came. Only a soft whimper like a wounded animal. Outside, Obi examined the ground where she'd been found. Her footprints led from the forest path toward the well. But halfway there they simply stopped, as if she had appeared out of thin air. Adan watched from her window as servants rushed around the chief's compound. She smiled to herself, a cruel little smile that no one saw. For years she had lived in Nkiru's shadow. The beautiful daughter of the chief, beloved by all. While Adan was just the cousin, the one people barely remembered. Now everything was changing. "If Nkiru is cursed," Adan whispered to herself, "then the inheritance will come to me. The chief will have no choice." She began spreading rumors carefully, like poison dripped into water. She told the market women that Nkiru had been seen dancing naked under the full moon. She told the elders that Nkiru had rejected the gods. Each lie was small enough to be believed, large enough to cause damage. But that night, curiosity got the better of her. She wanted to see where Nkiru went. She wanted proof of the curse so she could claim what should be hers. Just before midnight, Adan crept toward Nkiru's window. She crouched in the bushes, waiting. The moon rose higher. Then, suddenly, a force like a giant hand slammed into her chest. She flew backward, hitting the ground hard. Her scream died in her throat as something invisible pressed down on her, warning her. "Stay away." Obi found his master sitting by the fire, staring into the flames as if reading ancient secrets there. Old Ikeen had been quiet all day, which meant he was thinking deeply. "Master, I need to know more," Obi said. "About the silver dust. About where Nkiru is going." The old man sighed, his weathered face heavy with knowledge. "Sit, boy. What I'm about to tell you, few living souls know." He poured palm wine into 2 clay cups and began. "Long ago, before our grandparents' were born, there existed a realm alongside ours. A place of spirits and moonlight, where time moves differently. We call it the Moonlit Realm. Beautiful beyond imagination but deadly to humans. Those who enter it lose pieces of themselves with every visit. Their life force drains away like water through a basket." Obi's blood ran cold. How does someone enter this realm? Only those marked by prophecy. Only those promised to the spirits before birth. Old Ikeen looked at him meaningfully. "The chief's daughter bears such a mark, I'm certain of it. Then someone promised her to the spirits?" "Yes. And now," the old man whispered, "someone is trying to claim what was promised." Obi hid in the shadows near the chief's compound as midnight approached. The guards had changed shifts, tired and careless now. The whole household was exhausted from fear and sleepless nights. He waited, his heart pounding in his ears. Then it happened. The air grew cold. The insects stopped chirping. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Through Nkiru's window, Obi saw a soft glow beginning to build. It started as a faint shimmer, like heat rising from the ground, but quickly grew brighter. Nkiru rose from her bed, moving like someone in a deep sleep. Her eyes were open but unseeing, glowing with that terrible silver light. She walked toward the window, her movements graceful and strange, as if she were floating rather than walking. Then, before Obi's horrified eyes, her body began to dissolve. Not violently but gently, like smoke in the wind. Her solid form broke apart into particles of light that danced and swirled. Within moments she was gone completely. But that wasn't all. From the forest a figure emerged. Tall and luminous, neither man nor woman. It stood at the forest's edge, waiting. Then it turned and walked back into the darkness. Nkiru's light followed it, pulled like a moth to flame. Obi didn't think. He couldn't. His feet moved before his mind could catch up. He ran toward the forest, following the fading trail of silver dust that marked Nkiru's path. The sacred forest had always frightened the villagers. Strange things happened there. Hunters who went too deep came back changed if they came back at all. But Obi pushed forward, his breathing harsh and quick. The trees seemed to watch him. Their branches bent and swayed, though there was no wind. Roots shifted beneath his feet, making him stumble. The air grew thick and heavy, pressing against his skin. The silver trail glowed brighter now, easier to follow. It led him deeper, past the boundary stones that marked where villagers were allowed to go. Past the shrine of the ancestors. Past the point of safety. Then he saw it. A massive baobab tree stood in a clearing, its trunk wider than 5 men standing together. But this tree was wrong. Its bark shimmered with that same silver light, pulsing like a heartbeat. And at its base, a doorway of pure moonlight had opened. Inside that doorway, Obi could see another world. A place of impossible beauty and terrible danger. The moonlit realm. Obi stepped through the doorway and gasped. The moonlit realm was nothing like the world he knew. The sky above wasn't sky at all, but a swirling ocean of stars and light. Trees grew upside down, their roots reaching toward the heavens. Water floated in the air like silver ribbons, defying all natural laws. Everything glowed. Everything shimmered. It was the most beautiful thing Obi had ever seen, and the most terrifying. He walked forward on ground that felt solid but looked like liquid moonlight. In the distance he could see Nkiru. She moved through this strange realm as if pulled by invisible strings, her face peaceful but blank. She was walking toward something, a great throne of light in the center of it all. Obi tried to run to her, but his legs moved slowly as if he were walking through deep water. He opened his mouth to shout, but his voice came out as barely a whisper. Then, suddenly, a figure materialized in front of him. Not the glowing figure from the forest but something else. A spirit shaped like a warrior, carved from moonlight and shadow. "You do not belong here, human," the spirit said, its voice echoing from everywhere and nowhere. "Leave now or join her in forgetting." Obi fell to his knees, his head bowed. "Please, I've come for Nkiru. She doesn't belong here. Let her go." The spirit warrior circled him, studying him like a strange insect. "You dare speak of what belongs and what doesn't? The girl was promised to us before she drew her first breath. She is fulfilling her destiny. You are the intruder." "Promised?" Obi looked up. "By whom?" The spirit's eyes flashed dangerously. "That is not for you to know. What you should know is this. Each night she comes here, she grows closer to becoming one of us. Her human life drains away, feeding the realm. Soon there will be nothing left of the girl you knew. She will be spirit, not flesh." Obi's heart clenched. He could see it now, the way Nkiru seemed slightly transparent, less solid than before. With each step she took toward that distant throne, she faded a little more. "There must be a way to break this," Obi said desperately. "Every curse has a counter. Every promise can be unmade." The spirit leaned close, its breath cold as winter wind. "Perhaps. But it would require sacrifice. And the truth." Its voice dropped to a whisper. The betrayal came from inside her own house. The spirit allowed Obi to move closer to Nkiru, though it watched him carefully. As he approached, he saw more clearly what was happening. With each breath she took, tiny particles of light left her body and sank into the ground beneath her feet. She was being drained, slowly but surely. "Tell me everything," Obi demanded. "If I'm to save her, I need to understand." The spirit was silent for a long moment. Then it spoke, its voice heavy with ancient knowledge. 20 years ago, the chief and his wife could not have children. They begged every god, every ancestor, every spirit that would listen. In desperation, the chief's wife came to this realm and made a bargain. She offered her firstborn to serve as a bridge between worlds, a keeper of balance. In exchange, the child would be born healthy and beautiful, protected from harm. Obi felt sick. "Nkiru?" "Yes." But the chief's wife never told her husband. She kept the promise secret, hoping the spirits would forget. "We do not forget." The spirit's eyes glowed brighter. But someone else discovered the secret. Someone in the household broke the protection charms meant to delay the claiming. Now the realm calls to her every night, taking what was promised. "Who?" Obi's voice shook. "Who broke the charms?" The spirit turned away. "That answer must come from the living, not the dead. I cannot speak it." Adan moved through the chief's compound like a shadow, waiting for everyone to fall asleep. In her hand, she carried a small pouch given to her by a witch doctor from a distant village. It had cost her everything she'd saved, but it would be worth it. The witch doctor's instructions had been clear. Place this powder on her protection charm. It will sever the spiritual bonds keeping her anchored to this world. The spirits will take her completely and she will not return. Adan felt no guilt. Only determination. Nkiru had everything: beauty, love, status. While Adan was always the forgotten one, the spare. No more. She slipped into Nkiru's room. Her cousin lay on the bed, tossing and turning, fighting against the pull of the moonlit realm. Around her wrist was a thin bracelet of red beads and cowrie shells, the protection charm her mother had given her at birth. Adan sprinkled the dark powder over the bracelet, whispering the words the witch doctor had taught her. The beads began to smoke, then crack. One by one they shattered silently. As the last bead broke, Nkiru's eyes flew open. They were completely silver now, no white or brown remaining. She sat up like a puppet on strings and walked toward the window. Adan smiled in the darkness. It was done. The scream that woke the village at dawn was the chief's. He had found Nkiru lying in the courtyard, barely breathing. Her skin had turned pale as milk, almost translucent. Her pulse was so weak that at first they thought she was dead. "Get the healers," the chief roared. "Get everyone. I don't care what it costs." They came one after another. The village healer tried her herbs. The visiting medicine man from the river tribes performed rituals. The priest from the mission said prayers. Nothing worked. Nkiru lay between life and death, her breathing shallow and slow. But Obi noticed something no one else did. On Nkiru's wrist, where the protection bracelet had been, there was a mark. A handprint, silver and glowing, burned into her skin. It was the mark of the Moonlit realm, claiming her as its own. And scattered on the floor near her bed, Obi found the shattered remains of the charm, still dusted with dark powder that stank of jealousy and dark magic. Someone had done this deliberately. Someone had tried to kill her. Obi's jaw tightened. He knew what he had to do now. The time for caution was over. Obi walked into the chief's meeting hall where the elders had gathered to discuss Nkiru's condition. Every important person in the village was there, their faces grave. They fell silent when he entered. "Who let this boy in?" one elder snapped. "I let myself in," Obi said clearly, his voice stronger than it had ever been. "Because I know where Nkiru goes every night. I know what's killing her. And I know how to save her." The chief rose from his seat, anger and desperation warring on his face. "You? The apprentice who spoke nonsense about spirits." "It wasn't nonsense, my chief. It was truth. And if you don't listen now, your daughter will be dead before tomorrow's moon rises." The hall erupted in angry voices, but the chief raised his hand for silence. He looked old, suddenly defeated. "Speak, boy. I will listen." Obi took a deep breath. "Your daughter was promised to the spirits before birth. Someone in your household discovered this and broke her protection charm. Now the Moonlit realm is claiming her piece by piece. She has one night left. After that, she'll be gone forever, trapped between worlds, neither alive nor dead." The chief's wife gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. The secret she'd kept for 20 years had finally surfaced. The oldest elder, a woman named Mama Nduoma who had seen 90 rainy seasons, stood slowly. Her eyes were cloudy with age, but her voice was clear and strong. "He speaks truth," she said. "I know the prophecy. I was there the night this child was born." Everyone turned to her in shock. Mama Nduoma continued, leaning heavily on her walking stick. "The night Nkiru was born, the moon turned silver. Animals in the forest fell silent. These are signs of a child touched by two worlds. The midwife whispered it to me. This child shall walk in moonlight, she shall live in two worlds unless jealousy breaks the chain." The old woman's eyes swept across the room. "Jealousy has broken the chain. Someone here envies this girl so deeply that they've willingly sent her to her death." The chief's face darkened. "Oh, who would dare?" Obi's eyes moved to Adan, standing in the corner, her face carefully neutral. But her hands were trembling, clenched into fists at her sides. "I know who," Obi said quietly. "And so does the silver dust." He pulled a small pouch from his wrapper. Inside was some of the dust he'd collected from Nkiru's room. He poured it onto the ground in the center of the hall. "Let everyone pass through this dust," he commanded. "The guilty will be revealed." One by one people walked through the silver dust. It remained still and quiet beneath their feet. The chief passed through. His wife. The servants. The guards. Nothing happened. Then it was Adan's turn. She hesitated, her face pale. I don't need to prove anything," she stammered. "This is foolishness." "Walk through the dust, Adan," the chief commanded, his voice cold. "Unless you have something to hide." Adan had no choice. She stepped forward, her legs shaking. The moment her foot touched the silver dust, it erupted. It swirled up around her like a tornado, flashing bright red, the color of blood and betrayal. The dust clung to her skin, revealing dark powder on her fingers, the same powder found on Nkiru's broken charm. "No!" Adan screamed, trying to brush it off. "This isn't fair. She has everything. Everything. Why should she get love, respect, inheritance when I get nothing?" Her jealousy poured out like poison from a broken pot. The hall gasped in horror. The chief's face contorted with rage. You tried to kill my daughter?" Before he could reach her, the dust began to glow brighter. A voice echoed through the hall, neither male nor female, coming from everywhere. "The spirits demand judgment." The betrayer has been marked. Obi didn't wait for the chaos to settle. While everyone shouted and accused, while Adan sobbed and the chief raged, Obi ran. He ran to where Nkiru lay dying, her breathing barely there. "Forgive me," he whispered, lifting her weightless body into his arms. She felt like air, like she might dissolve completely at any moment. He carried her out of the compound, ignoring the shouts behind him. He ran toward the sacred forest, his feet sure despite the darkness. The moon was rising, full and silver. It was the night of reckoning, the last chance. The forest welcomed him this time, or perhaps it simply recognized him. The trees parted, revealing the path. The silver dust glowed brighter, leading him forward. And there in the clearing, the great baobab tree stood waiting. The doorway of Moonlight was already open. Obi stepped through, Nkiru still in his arms. The spirit warrior appeared immediately, but this time it didn't block his path. "You carry the promised one," it said. "You seek to break what was made. This will require sacrifice." "I know," Obi replied, his voice steady. "I'm ready. Are you?" The spirit's eyes gleamed. "Do you even know what will be asked of you?" Obi looked down at Nkiru's pale face. "It doesn't matter. She deserves to live." The moonlit realm pulsed with energy as Obi carried Nkiru toward the throne of light. More spirits gathered now, hundreds of them, watching silently. The air hummed with power. At the throne sat a figure more magnificent than all the others. The Moon Guardian, ancient beyond counting, beautiful and terrible at once. It rose as Obi approached. "So," the Guardian spoke, its voice like wine through silver bells, "the mortal boy has come to challenge a promise made before time." "Not challenge," Obi said, bowing low. "I come to fulfill it properly. The promise was broken by treachery and jealousy. The bargain was corrupted. Nkiru should never have suffered this way." The Guardian descended from its throne, moving with liquid grace. It touched Nkiru's face gently and she stirred for the first time, her eyes fluttering. "The boy speaks wisdom," the Guardian said. "The promise was indeed corrupted. We never meant to drain her life, only to let her serve as a bridge walking between worlds peacefully. But jealousy twisted everything, tore the protection, and now—" It looked at Nkiru sadly. "Now she is dying because the balance broke." "Then fix the balance," Obi pleaded. "There must be a way." "There is. But it requires something precious from you, mortal boy. You must give up what you hold closest to your heart." Obi's mind raced. What did he hold closest to his heart? His mentor, Old Ikeen, was dear to him, but Obi could not offer another person's life. His dreams of becoming a great healer? His small savings hidden in a clay pot? The Guardian waited patiently, reading his thoughts like open scrolls. Then Obi understood. The answer was standing right in front of him, lying weightless in his arms. Kiro. Over the past weeks of watching her, following her, trying to save her, something had grown in his heart. Something he hadn't even admitted to himself. He loved her. Not the way others loved her, for her beauty or status. He loved her courage, the way she fought against the pull of the realm even when exhausted. He loved her gentle spirit, glimpsed in stolen moments. He loved her enough to set her free, even if it meant giving up any chance of her ever knowing his feelings. "I understand," Obi whispered. His throat felt tight. "My greatest desire is to be with her, to love her openly. I give that up. I'll walk away and never speak of my feelings. She'll never know. I'll live my life in silence, loving her from a distance." The Guardian studied him for a long moment. Then slowly it smiled. "Your sacrifice is accepted, Obi, son of the humble. But know this, true love that asks for nothing in return is the most powerful magic of all." The Guardian raised its hands, and the entire moonlit realm blazed with light so bright that Obi had to close his eyes. He felt Nkiru lifted from his arms by invisible forces. A great wind rose, warm and gentle, swirling around them both. Power coursed through the realm like a river breaking its banks. The silver dust that had been draining Nkiru's life reversed its flow. Light poured back into her body, filling her with warmth and color. The mark on her wrist faded. The chains that had bound her to this place shattered like glass. Nkiru gasped, a deep, shuddering breath, the first real breath she'd taken in days. Her eyes flew open, no longer silver, but their natural warm brown. She looked around in confusion and wonder. Where am I?" "You're free," the Guardian said gently. "The promise has been fulfilled in a new way. You will no longer be called to this realm against your will. But you will always carry a gift from us, a blessing, not a curse." The Guardian touched Nkiru's forehead, and a soft glow settled there briefly before fading. You will understand suffering and joy more deeply than others. You will heal what is broken in people and in spirits. This is your true purpose." Then the guardian turned to Obi. Its expression was unreadable. "And you, brave one." Before the guardian could finish, the moonlit realm trembled. A dark presence forced its way through, violating the sacred space. It was Adan's jealousy made manifest, a shadow creature of rage and envy that had grown from her corrupted heart. The spirits hissed in anger. The guardian's face darkened. "She followed you through," the guardian said grimly. "Her jealousy will not let go even now." The shadow Adan lunged at Nkiru, but Obi stepped between them. The creature struck him, cold as death, and he fell. But in falling, his blood touched the silver ground of the moonlit realm. And blood freely given in protection had power. The realm responded. Silver light erupted from where Obi's blood had fallen, spreading like wildfire. It engulfed the shadow creature, burning away the jealousy, the rage, the darkness. Adan's true form appeared, cowering and small. "Please," she whimpered. "I didn't mean." "Yes, you did," the guardian said coldly. "And now you will carry the consequence." It pointed at Adan, and a mark appeared on her throat, glowing faintly. "From this day until your last breath, whenever you speak lies, your voice will fade. Whenever you act from jealousy, your strength will leave you. You are marked, Adan. Forever." Adan screamed, but the sound died in her throat. The realm expelled her, casting her back to the mortal world. The guardian helped Obi to his feet. His wound was already healing, touched by the realm's magic. "You have proven yourself worthy," the guardian said. "Not once but twice. You sacrificed your heart's desire, then you shed your blood for another. This is true nobility regardless of birth or status." Back in the mortal world, dawn was breaking. The guardian opened a pathway, a gentle door of light leading back to the forest. "Go now," it said. "Return to your people. And tell them this. The spirits do not seek to harm humans. We seek balance. When that balance is kept, there is only blessing." Obi and Kiru stepped through together. They emerged in the forest clearing just as the first rays of sun broke through the trees. Behind them, the doorway closed, and the great baobab became just a tree again, ordinary and silent. But when they reached the village, they found a gathering waiting. The chief stood at the center, and to Obi's surprise, the proud man's head was bowed. "I was wrong," Chief Okoro said loudly so all could hear. "I was too proud to listen to wisdom from a humble source. I nearly lost my daughter because of my pride." He walked to Obi and knelt, an act unthinkable for a chief. "Forgive me, Obi. You have saved my house. You have saved my daughter. I am forever in your debt." The village celebrated for 7 days. Nkiru recovered fully, her strength returning along with something new, a quiet wisdom in her eyes that hadn't been there before. People noticed she could now ease pain with a touch, comfort the grieving with mere words. The Moon Guardian's blessing had taken root. On the final day of celebration, the Guardian appeared one last time, visible only to those who had been touched by the moonlit realm. It stood at the forest's edge watching. "The bloodline is blessed," it proclaimed to the spirits around it. "For 7 generations, the chief's descendants will be protected. They will have wisdom, compassion, and strength. This is our gift, freely given." As the Guardian faded back into the realm, a single silver feather drifted down from the sky. It landed in Kiru's palm, solid and real, proof that everything had truly happened. She closed her fingers around it and looked at Obi, who stood nearby, preparing to return to his master's hut. He had saved her life, and yet he asked for nothing. No reward, no recognition beyond what the chief had publicly given. Something stirred in Kiru's heart. She didn't understand it yet, but she would. The Guardian had touched them both, binding them in ways neither fully comprehended. Not with obligation but with possibility. That evening, the entire village gathered by the river as the elders retold the tale for those who would come after.